right, ladies and gentlemen, let's get into it. I just got out of the gym after a lovely day of work. Um, During lunch, I was, going through some sports pages, and the Marlon Humphrey thing again. Uh, as you read more into it, apparently he was sent home from Wednesday's practice with cold symptoms. Um, One report says he didn't practice Thursday, Friday. Another report says he did practice Thursday, Friday. Then he was tested Saturday, but they didn't get the results till Sunday. Last I checked, apparently part of the COVID protocol is that there's supposed to be rapid testing within sports, especially the NFL. Um, if he didn't take a rapid test, then I gotta wonder who that falls on. Does that fall on the Ravens? Does it fall on the NFL? Does it fall on the players' union? Does it fall on owners? Who's at fault for this? Um, all the Steelers tested negative for it, thank God. Um, but still, if you sent him home and there was no test results, why is the man on the field? Why? Why? Somebody's got to be held accountable for that. And I guess we'll wait and see whatever BS punishment that'll be. Uh, but again, you playing any player, doesn't matter who it was. I mean, even Justin Turner with the Dodgers put everybody at risk being on the field with an inconclusive test. It shouldn't be up to the player to go out there. If the medical doctors for the team, whoever's administering these tests, if you can't come up with a result right then and there, then I'm sorry, you shouldn't be able to play. That's just it. Doesn't matter how big the game is. It's not like he really helped you out anyway. You guys still lost, whether you had him or you didn't, or he wasn't going to play. So who really cares? Um, you got to think about the safety of all the other players. You just can't think about yourself. For that, Marlon Humphrey, I'm sorry, you're selfish. You're just selfish. Uh, we'll steer away from that because that's like beating a dead horse at this point. We got the Thursday night football game coming up, Packers Niners. It's gonna be interesting to see how, depending on who they start. I think Mullins is probably going to start this game against Aaron Rodgers. Uh, the Packers just put like two people on the COVID list, Jamal Williams being one of them, I think his name is, and some other guy, because they're both highly contagious or whatever it is. And both teams are going in, I think, a little banged up. I think Devontae Adams is a little beat up. Obviously, on the Niners side, no Garoppolo the rest of the year, no George Kittle. It's gonna be an interesting game to see which way it goes. If I'm the Niners, I go with Mullins. He's proven himself. I get C.J. Beathard just as good as a backup, but you got to go with the hot hand who at least keeps you in the game at least. And on the Packers side of it, after that horrendous, I wouldn't say it was a horrendous loss because you didn't lose by much, but just the fact that you lost to a 1-6 uh, Vikings team. This is definitely a bounce back game. This is a statement game for Green Bay. Aaron Rodgers has just got to put his foot on the pedal and never let go of it. The defense has got to play lights out because even with the 13 plus people that the Niners have on the IR, they're still a decent team. They got depth at every position for the most part. It could either be a close game or it's going to be an absolute slaughter. Uh, my prediction is Green Bay, and I say by at least 7-8. And then you go into the Sunday games, and for the life of me, now that the deadline's over, I don't think the Cowboys did anything. Um, Apparently they're going to ride it with DiNucci, which I think is a big mistake. It's not like Dallas has any capable backups anyway. Andy Dalton was put on the COVID list. He was symptomatic or something that I read. So, you're going to ride that with DiNucci. They were talking about maybe Cooper Rush, but you have to get him activated off the practice squad. Then he's got to go do the COVID testing. I don't see the Cowboys really keeping in this game at all. I just see a lot of turnovers, and I just see DiNucci getting eaten alive all day long. Um, so I just said TJ and Bud Dupree are just licking their chops every day, waiting till Sunday, 4:30 in Jerry's World. Uh, if I were you, I'd definitely tune into that game if you want to see what happens. And then, like the Giant game last night. And I know I talked about this in the short video I did this morning, but I figure while we'll go a little deeper into it. Because I was listening to Boomer and Gio this morning, and Boomer said either Daniel Jones is going to play his way out of New York or play his way into still being the starting quarterback next year. Again, and I say it to all Giants fans, he's not a bad quarterback. It's just a quarterback I wouldn't take with that pick for one. But it's just the mistakes, and they're the dumbest mistakes. I'm sorry, if you're about to get sacked, just take the sack, or throw it high up in the air out of bounds. Even if you got to take the intentional grounding penalty, it's just what you got to do there. But you know what else too? You got to get an offensive line to protect this kid. He literally had times where he was protected and other times he wasn't, where he literally got to get the ball out in less than like zero point 0.5 seconds. How do you expect him to succeed there? They got to get a running game. Goldman's not the answer. Alfred Morris wasn't the answer. Um, at the deadline, obviously the Giants, from what I haven't heard anything, but I don't think they did anything. Uh, they should have at least called somebody who is willing to give up a running back. As far as the trade rumors, New England was shopping Gilmore, and what you want for an injured guy right now, they wanted a first rounder for him. Insane. Just insane. You had to see a Belichick up there whining about, how they sold out for Super Bowls, and because that now it affects the salary cap, and, just stop whining. Just stop whining. Face it. Just admit it. You wish you had Brady back. You don't, and that's just the way. And that, that's just the way it rolls. Uh, and like speaking of New England, I, at this point, like the Monday night game, okay, is Jets Patriots. Which first off, please flex that crap out, please. Nobody wants to see it. Um, it's a meaningless game. It has no appeal to it at all. Just make it a Sunday 1 o'clock game. Put something more appealing there. Please, ESPN, NFL, whoever, please get that one right at least. Uh, from a stand, sorry, I don't want to see Cam Newton versus Sam Darnold Monday night when I get home from work. I don't want to see it. Um, it's just going to be a battle of two horrible teams at this point. And it's a matter of, maybe this could be the Jets' first win. If I'm Belichick, I start Stidman, I sit Cam, not as like a punishment, but just let's see what you got with this kid. You know, let's just see what you got the younger guys. Maybe you're putting your third stringers out, your practice squad out there. See what you got because you know what, New England's just got to go into a full rebuild mode. And it goes from the coaching staff, to every player on the team. They got to reevaluate the whole system there, and they got to start over. They enjoyed their 20+ year success rate. All these wins. You had Super Bowls along the way, but you know what? It's done now. It's done. It's done. Belichick's career is done. Cam Newton's not going to do it for you. At least not with Belichick as the coach. Maybe with Josh McDaniels because he could run a more exotic offense than Belichick could ever do. And if it goes to show you that maybe Belichick isn't the genius he really thinks he is, and maybe Brady was the brains behind it all. Or then on the other side of it, maybe Belichick is a genius, but Brady was just the only quarterback who could adapt to his genius. Because apparently Cam Newton can't. Uh, and at the deadline, I thought there would be more moves. Like John Ross of Cincinnati wanted out, and they told him he wasn't getting traded. He's pretty much going to ride out the contract, become a free agent at the end of the year. Probably the best move for both parties, honestly. Will Fuller was another one. Houston was trying to, get rid of him, but they couldn't find anything of value for him, at least what they think is value. Uh, if you're a seller, you got to try to get what. I understand when you're trying to trade a player, you want the best you could possibly get. But when you're trading a guy like Will Fuller, you're not going to get the best that there is to offer. You got to take what teams are willing to give. And Will Fuller, to me, you probably get a fourth and a fifth for him. You're not getting a first and a second. You're not getting a second and a third. You're going to get a fourth, a fifth, or a fifth and a sixth, or a sixth or a seventh. That's about all you're going to get, and that's what you got to take. Uh, J.J. Watt, it was actually interesting. I forget who was telling me that he was linked to possibly going. God, now I forget. I'm drawing a blank on that one. Uh, but there was a third team that he was linked to that he was possibly getting traded to. I forget the team. And I was actually shocked at who the team was. for the life of me. I think it might have been Philly. No, I'm not sure. I got to go and check. Uh, but for the life of me, I don't get why JJ has been in Houston that long, do everything, and you know, Bill O'Brien destroyed the whole team. I don't think Bill O'Brien was a logical choice to even come to Houston to begin with. I get that they went 11-5. They won. They won that division a couple of times. It looks like the Colts are going to take that division now this year, and it's. I mean, you know what? It's just really a shame because again, like a quarterback like Deshaun Watson, you put Deshaun Watson in the same thing I discussed last night. Him, Beckham, and Darnold are always in their prime on crappy teams. That's just it. While guys like Mueller, like Kyle Murray, went to a crappy team, and now they're building themselves up to become a good team. Uh, if I'm Deshaun Watson, you got to go somewhere where you could be a contender. And then somebody was asking me today, about the Bears situation. Honestly, I said it this morning. Go back to Trubisky. Back to Trubisky. What do you got to lose? And then I read somewhere somebody said that if Nick Foles was the quarterback of Tampa, Max Kellerman at ESPN, numero uno jackass at times, he said that he would have the same record as Tom Brady if he was the quarterback of the Buccaneers. The hell you would. The hell you would, because you wouldn't even have half the players in Tampa. You think a Leonard Fournette would have came to Tampa because Nick Foles was there? No, 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 no way, no way. Nick Foles is not that free. Nick Foles is not that quarterback that attracts these big name free agents, to come to their teams. He's just not. Nick Foles was never a starting quarterback. You know, and they got lucky in Philly on that run. It was just perfect timing, and he just created that spark they needed. And I'm not saying Nick Foles isn't a bad quarterback, but Nick Foles is just not a starting quarterback. He's a systems quarterback, but and it's funny because he's the same people that he was coached by when he went to the Rams and this team and this team and that team or whatever other team, including the Eagles. He had mild success. In Philly, obviously, he had major success because he won a championship, and everybody's saying, well, you know what? And it's funny because somebody said, well, if Wentz was the quarterback, they would have won the Super Bowl. No, they wouldn't have. No, they wouldn't have. They would have been one and done in the playoffs because Carson Wentz is never getting you a Super Bowl. Okay, he's not getting you a Super Bowl. He's very inconsistent as a quarterback, and this is where, and this is where, and I'm going to shock you. If Deshaun Watson were to have asked for a trade, Philly would be the best place for Deshaun Watson to go. And you'll say, well, Jim, they drafted Jalen Hurts. Well, Jalen Hurts would have been part of that deal. You would have got Wentz and Hurts to go to the Texans, and you would have got Deshaun Watson. No brainer. Then Houston would let Carson Wentz just walk, and Jalen Hurts would get the starting job that I think he should finally get. Um, Philly isn't going to win Philly will win the NFC East, but it's going to be with a losing record. And at this point, if you want to create a spark and win that division without a losing record, let's see what Jalen Hurts has got. I mean, if you watch Jalen Hurts in college, he was not a bad quarterback at all. He was a very decent quarterback. He's mobile. He's got an arm. Give it a shot. Ride it out. I mean, what do you got to lose? What really do you have to lose? You have nothing to lose at this point. You pretty much you pretty much will have won the NFC East this Sunday, and you can thank the Steelers for it when we go out there and kick the ever living crap out of Zeke with this feed me more nonsense, but he can't hold on to the ball. Okay, CeeDee Lamb is going to be non-existent in this game because Danucci can't throw it. He can't even throw it 2 feet past himself. Uh, he's going to be out there again, like Uncle Rico, doing a little sidearms, trying to throw it over mountains and whatnot, and it's just not going to work. I wouldn't be surprised if Mike McCarthy decided to quit halfway through the game, like that one guy in the Bills retired in the middle of the game when they were getting slaughtered. It's not going to be a pretty show there in Jerry's world. And Jerry Jones is just going to sit there all grumpy, shitting his depends again, and whining and crying and throwing a temper tantrum on whatever radio station he does his little show on in Dallas. Um, And speaking of that, enough's enough with Dallas as America's team. You haven't been America's team since 1994, 95, or 96. Okay? You haven't been America's team. And I don't even get how you even became America's team. I don't get how that nickname for you even came up. You guys are the biggest disgrace in football ever because because you've gotten all these weapons over the years and you've never utilized anything with them. And you can say, well, it's Jason Garrett's fault. Well, apparently it's the same nonsense going on with Mike McCarthy there. So is it really the coach, or is it just all the egos in the room? Instead of sitting there playing the blame game and not putting your name on something, that you say to somebody in an off-record report that gets into the paper anyway, or gets posted all over Twitter, or somehow makes its way to sports talk radio, why don't you own it for one? And then while you're owning it, why don't you look in the mirror and realize maybe you're the problem? Maybe you're the problem. Zeke needs to look in the mirror. Maybe he's the problem. Amari Cooper needs to look in the mirror. Maybe he's the problem. CeeDee Lamb, I get he's a rookie, but maybe you should look in the mirror because maybe you're the problem. And all these other guys on the team should maybe look at themselves and realize maybe they're the problem. But the one person who should look in the mirror and really take a long look is Jerry Jones because he's been the problem forever since Jimmy Johnson left, right? Since Jimmy Johnson left, it's been it's just been utter nonsense in Dallas. You're not America's team. Enough with it. Okay, just stop with that. Just stop. It makes me vomit. That every week I gotta hear, oh, America's team is playing the Washington football team this week. You're not America's team. Enough. Please, just everybody stop saying it. That's it. Just stop. Uh, Dallas, no way wins this game Sunday. There's just no way. I can go into it confident. And you can say, oh, well, you guys barely beat the Ravens. But you know what, though? The Ravens are a tough team to play because they have because their playbook is so, you know, there's just different things they could do with it because Lamar Jackson is a running back playing quarterback. And he's very sneaky and elusive, and I'll give him the credit for that. But I'm not giving him a credit as a quarterback because, again, he may be respected, but he's not feared. Um, and teams figure him out, and teams figure out the play calling, and teams figure out their little schemes, and and that's just and that's it. That's just bottom line. And again, the coaching staff there, Harbaugh, is very overrated. Still sitting there whining and crying to his brother on the phone, probably about how that was pass interference on Minka Fitzpatrick, while Jim Harbaugh over there is overhyped in friggin' Michigan. Um, you know, you know, all this. Oh yeah, the Harbaughs are the greatest coaching brothers ever. No, you're not. No, you're not. You're not. You're overhyped. You're almost as overhyped as Baker Mayfield and the Cleveland Browns. So, Ravens fans, just again, take the loss in stride and worry about your next game. And we'll see you at Heinz Field on Thanksgiving, which, thank God, that is the Thursday night game. Oh, thank God. I get a primetime game. I got to work the next day, but it'll be worth it. It's going to be interesting to see because hopefully we have Cam Hayward back for that game. Alu, they're saying a game or two. I think it may be longer than that. But then again, people heal differently, so I really don't know. Then MLB put out the end of the year awards. The NL MVP, the AL MVP, which DJ LeMahieu's up for that. Honestly, if DJ LeMahieu don't win it, then I really don't know. DeGrom for the Mets, 3 years in a row, Cy Young finalist. He probably wins it for a third straight time. You know what? Congratulations to him. He deserves it. The AL Cy Young Award, it was Bieber, I think Maeda from the Twins, and Ryu from Toronto. That's a no-brainer. Bieber wins that one. He had like the best ERA in the AL the whole season. He was like the most dominant pitcher in the AL, other than Garrett Cole at times. He wins that one. I forget the other awards because I really didn't look into it yet, so I'll probably do that like in tomorrow's video. We'll go over that more. But I think DJ takes the AL MVP. If he really doesn't, I gotta question the voting process at this point. But delving back into football because it is football season. You know, again the Thursday night game. going to be an interesting one. You know, how does San Francisco contain the offense of Green Bay, and how does Green Bay bounce back from the Minnesota loss? I think honestly, I think Green Bay bounces back big. Uh, Honestly, if you ask me, you got to put a gun to my head. I think Aaron Rodgers just smokes the shit out of this team on offense. And the only way you're going to beat Green Bay is if you keep Rodgers off the field. And I don't think this Niner defense has enough to do it. Um, I don't think that to stop them on offense, and the Niner offense. I don't think they have enough to put the points they got to put up on the board to even compete. Um, and and again, you blame it on the injuries all you want, because if they had a healthy team, it's a different outcome. I would say probably a 3 point win on San Francisco's part, but I think Green Bay wins this by at least. Again, put a gun to my head. I probably said like 7 or 8 earlier. If I even said a somewhat spread before, I say double digits. I think Rodgers just throws for like 5 touchdowns. Uh, with Devontae Adams catching at least 3 of them, probably be 2 running touchdowns. But again, we'll have to wait and see till the game's played. And earlier today, this guy comes into work, and I always wear a Steeler hat, and I always wear something Steelers. Whether it's my Steeler hoodie, Steeler T-shirt, Steeler hat. I even got the Steeler schedule next to my computer. Uh, and he comes in and he says he's a Cowboy fan. Okay, Cowboy fan living in New York, and trust me, there's many that do. There's a lot of Steeler fans that live in New York. There's a lot, and he told me and it's funny, and I don't know what he was on. He had whatever he smokes, it's good, because he's living in this fantasy where he thinks that the Cowboys with DiNucci are gonna blow the Steelers out. Like we're not a team that overlooks opponents. We're not gonna overlook Dallas to the next game. No, Tom was gonna have his team prepared to play Dallas, not overlook Dallas, and that defense is going to tighten up this week, and they're not going to do much. I don't care what anybody says. DiNucci's not going to put 300 plus yards on this defense. Listen, we shut Derrick Henry down, and I get the defense didn't play that great against Baltimore, but we'll shut Zeke down. And you could say, well, Dallas has a winning record against you guys, and yeah, blah blah blah. Yeah, but that's when you had Dak and you had a decent team. You ain't got that now without Dak. And I'm sure you're going to have 2 or 3 key guys on defense hurt that can't play. You're not going to have the red rifle with the red ginger and Andy Dalton, behind center. So what shot do you really have? The only way that Dallas is going to win this game is if everybody on Pittsburgh came down with COVID and they decided now we're going to forfeit games. That's the only way you win in Dallas. That's the only way you're going to win. And you could say, you know what, Jim, you're being cocky and arrogant and whatnot, but you know what? When we're 7-0 and you're a Steeler fan, you can be like that. I wouldn't be like that if we were 0-8. I wouldn't be like that if we were 1-7. I wouldn't, not at all. And speaking of like 1-17, and watching the Giants play last night, the defense stepped up big, but again, and I had to hear this all day. And I watched the replay a couple of times this morning before I went to work. And the more I think about it, it's not even the more I think about it, it's just the more I know about it, is that it is pass interference. Because you even see Winfield kind of holding Dion Lewis's hand down. But then again, Daniel Jones has got to get that ball out earlier. He threw it late. It was even mentioned, on the broadcast. He got it out late. And yeah, it was a bang bang play. But if you throw the flag, then stand behind it. Then there was no reason to pick the flag up. It would have been right on the goal line, and I think the quarterback sneak it in with Jones. That game goes into overtime. Now, I'm not saying the Giants win the game, and I'm not saying they lose the game either. But if you're a Giants fan, you can't use that. You can't use that as the excuse to why you lost. The excuse to why you lost is that Daniel Jones made 2 huge mistakes, and they're called interceptions. And it's just clear as day. And there's Giants fans that'll agree. And there's Giants fans that'll just be like, well, the pass interference called it. Because if and not only that, The passes he threw to Shepard and Slayton that were, and you could say were overthrown, they weren't. It's just the fact that on the Sterling Shepard one, he started looking back for the ball 5 yards earlier than he should have. He should have been at least 10 yards out further before he started looking at the ball. Because we all know if you ever played the wide receiver position, when you start looking for the ball early, you're slowing yourself down. And it gives the cornerback enough time to catch up to you. So, sorry, I put that one on Shepard. Daniel Jones has got to learn when to either throw the ball out of bounds or just take the sack. It's just clear as day. And that's something that comes down to Joe Judge coaching it, to Jason Garrett, to your quarterback's coach, to even Colt McCoy being the backup. You've been in this league long enough. You should be helping him out. That's it. But to say that he's playing his way out of New York. So if he's playing his way out of New York and the Giants get a decent pick, let's say they get like the 4th pick in the draft this year, you're going to draft another quarterback? The Daniel Jones experiment ends just there? Then you got to go back to the Daniel Jones draft. Be like, then why did we draft him to begin with? And I get you had to find somebody to replace Eli. Eli was going to retire. But I don't think he retires if you don't draft a quarterback there. I don't think you do. Even if you drafted Jones later in the draft, and then you want to move on from the experiment, that's fine. But when you wasted a prime pick in the first round, 6th pick, on that quarterback, and then you're going to walk away from the experiment, what does that say about team morale, one? And what does it say about Gettleman's draft process? It says that he's an utter ass. That's what it says. And, I'm not opposed to drafting a quarterback if I'm a Giants fan in this year's draft. You got decent ones coming out. But I'm sorry, you're not gonna get Fields from Ohio State. You're just not, unless you don't win another game the rest of the year. Then it's gonna be Jets Giants with the 1 and 2 pick. But now here's the thing: if you draft a quarterback, you can have the same nonsense that's going on now. You're not gonna give him any weapons, And then the more you hear about the draft, people that work for the Jets, as far as like beat reporters and writers, they're saying that Trevor Lawrence might really consider playing for the Jets. Hey, listen, if he does, it's great. I think it's a bad move on his part because I don't think Joe Douglas is going to put anything decent around this kid. Although the Jets, with the salary cap dropping, I think it's like $175 million next year, right? They're in prime position because they're going to have like 80-something million coming off the books. If you don't spend that $80 million on decent weapons and you're going to go get the highest touted quarterback in all college football, and you don't put decent weapons around him on both sides of the ball, it's just going to be Sam Darnold 2.0. That's all it's going to be. And the Jets fan told me today, if they draft Lawrence, he's not going to be the starter right away. Again, what are you smoking? You gotta be smoking the same stuff the Cowboys fan was smoking that told me that we're gonna get blown out by them. You two must go to the same weed guy, because you're both living in some fantasy land. You guys are living like on the beach. Leonardo DiCaprio found and went and got high on, in the movie The Beach. It's just not gonna. You're not gonna draft the best college quarterback and then have him sit the bench behind Darnold. You're not gonna do that. No, what you're going to do is you're going to move Darnold or you're going to release him. And Trevor Lawrence is going to be the starter. But then I don't want to hear Jets fans, if he decides to come here, that you're going to anoint him the savior. It's not just going to be him that saves his team. Joe Douglas has got to build around him and get the pieces for the Jets to become a successful franchise. And is Joe Douglas the guy to do it? I mean, he did build the Eagle team that did win the Super Bowl. Granted, Carson Wentz got hurt, but he did go out and get Foles. Joe Douglas is smart in that regard. He tried to trade off as many pieces as he could to get money off the books, with Williamson being one of them, and restructuring his deal. And now Williamson is only owed $1.45 million, that Pittsburgh's going to pay him, which was a smart move. Because that's why there was only draft picks flop, because we took on the rest of his contract. So you're welcome, Jets. You're welcome, Joe Douglas, by the way. And as far as Avery Williamson, I try to re-sign him with the Steelers at the end of the year because he's going to bring something to the field. And listen, I'll say it again, and I've read it everywhere. Spillane's still starting, and then it's going to be Highsmith, and Williamson's going to be the third option in that inside linebacker position. And, that's all well and good. Because, again, don't question the trade when you need depth in a position where Bush is out the whole year. So all you have is Spillane and Highsmith, and now you have Avery Williamson. Because what are you going to put in that position? You're going to put Terrell Edmonds, who blows coverages left and right? No, I'm not putting Edmonds there. No, and a Steeler fan told me, well, why would we put Edmonds there? Edmonds shouldn't even be playing safety. Edmonds can't. Edmonds couldn't even cover. Edmonds couldn't even cover a friggin' table with a tablecloth right now. That's how many coverages he's blown. Just don't get me started on Terrell Edmonds, because I had high hopes for him when he was drafted, and he's just blown coverages, and he's got stone hands. There's interceptions that he should have had that he doesn't catch, and it's just you know what? I gotta get off Terrell Edmonds. I gotta get off the topic before I just go utterly insane and I just lose my mind. I thought the Steelers though would make another move before that. After they made the Williamson trade, they didn't. We're gonna ride it out with what we got. This team's built to win now. That's why we got Williamson. He's another piece to help us win now. Because the Super Bowl opportunity for number 7, the window's closing. It's closing. At least with Ben as the quarterback, it's closing. If we win number 7 this year, I think Ben, if I was Ben, if I'm in Ben's shoes, I walk away. You know what? You came back. You came back for the team. You came back for the younger guys to help them win a championship. If you do that, you walk away. You have nothing else to prove. You've broken all these records all year long. You'll win the Steelers a 7th Super Bowl. You'll get your 3rd ring. You'll get Juju as first and Connor as first, and everybody will be grateful. Steeler fans will love you for it. And if you walked away, I couldn't think of any Steeler fan that would be mad about it. And if you do get mad about it, well, then you're just dumb. After all the years the guy put in and the injuries he played through and the toughness he's got, if you're to sit there and say, well, why is he walking away now? Because it's just time. But I would walk away if I was Ben, but Ben won't walk away because I think even Ben knows his heir apparent's not on this team. I read a report that Mason's the heir apparent. Listen, Mason's not the heir apparent to the throne that is Ben Roethlisberger's right now. He is just not. I'm tired of hearing about it. Listen, I liked when we drafted him. I'm not going to lie. I liked it because he has a similar build to Ben, but he is not on Ben's level. He can never be on Ben's level. If Mason Rudolph became the starting quarterback of this team, we're going to be reliving the years of Bubby Brister and Neil O'Donnell and Tommy Maddox. That's what's going to happen. And you know what? I can't go through that again. So it's either we either trade in the offseason with the Jets to get Sam Darnold, or we draft his heir apparent in this draft who's ready to take the keys, who can run the first team offense. Because Mason, we got to draw a special playbook for Mason because he can't handle this playbook. As a backup, you have to be able to handle every playbook. It's just simple as that. Why is it that Nick Mullins could come in for Garoppolo and run the first team offense? Why is it C.J. Beathard could do the same thing? Case Keenum could do it. Even Stidman could do it in New England, and he barely gets the chance to do it. And Mason can't do it. Even Josh Dobbs could do it. So Mason's not. I'm sorry, in my eyes, he's not. And I know other Steeler fans who agree with me. And there's some that don't agree with me. Well, I don't know what you see. Yeah, okay. I went to training camp last season, right? Me, my ex-wife, her boyfriend, right? Went to training camp. That's odd, right? Yeah, but we went. And he looked good in training camp. But again, that's training camp. Yeah, he looks good in preseason. That's preseason. And you could say, well, Jim, we didn't lose games horribly with him in there. But that was the defense helping him. It wasn't him. It was the defense. So again, Mason's not the heir apparent. It's just as clear as day. No, I don't want Dwayne Haskins, and thank God we didn't trade for him, because if we did, honestly, I probably would have jumped off the building on my job, to be honest with you. I probably would have given up watching football at that point. I probably just would have. And and for other teams, like even Green Bay, like Aaron Rodgers is all butthurt because they drafted Jordan Love. Well, you know what? You have to find your heir apparent in the draft somehow. And It's not like Jordan Love came in and took the job. And when don't forget the Packers did it to Brett Favre. They drafted Aaron Rodgers knowing Favre still had football left in him. And when they wanted to do away with Favre, Rodgers stepped right in. Now, Green Bay's not doing that with Aaron Rodgers. You know, they're letting him play out the season. Now, I'm not sure what his contract status is, whether he has another year or two. But Jordan Love's not ready to play in the NFL yet, but I'm sure he's practicing just as hard as if he was ready to play. And in that situation, when Rodgers is ready to hang it up, they'll have his heir apparent there. And that's something Pittsburgh does not have yet. Do we get it in this draft? Possibly. Who knows? But with the way we're going right now, we're probably going to have towards the end of the first round draft pick. If we win the Super Bowl, we'll have the last pick. Who knows? Who knows what'll be there? Unless we manage to trade up within the draft, which we've done before. I mean, look what we did with Denver to get Devin Bush. If we didn't make that trade, Denver probably would have got Devin Bush, and we would have friggin' Drew Lock, which I wouldn't be fine with taking Ben's spot for a while. But Mason nor Dobbs are the heir apparents to Roethlisberger's throne yet. They're just not. They're just not, and they're never gonna be. They're just never, ever, ever gonna be. Mason, I don't think, has it in him to do it, and Dobbs is capable of being a decent quarterback in this league, but he wouldn't be able to do what Ben does, and he wouldn't be able to do what Ben's ever done. So you got to go out. You got to trade. You got to trade for a quarterback. And I had a dream the other night where we made a trade with Houston and we got Deshaun Watson. And I mean, we could all dream, right? But I would die if we got Deshaun Watson because he would be a great heir apparent to Ben Roethlisberger. But it would never happen. And then it's going to be curious what happens even in Tampa too. Like who takes the reins from Brady when he's done there? Because if you think Brady's playing till like he's 50 years old, you got another thing coming. Their window to win a Super Bowl is minute as well. You know, it's only really this year or next year, and that's pretty much it. Because I don't see Brady playing after next year. I mean, how much more football does he really have to play? I mean, how much more? And that's another situation. This Josh Rosen, remember that guy, right? Who overhyped himself too, like Baker Mayfield did. He went from 9 guys were drafted before me, and I should have been the number one draft pick, right? We all remember that. You didn't live up to any potential whatsoever. The fact that you got traded to Miami, then you got benched for a 38-year-old quarterback, then you got released, and then you're on Tampa's practice squad watching Tom Brady's jock. Okay? People are like, and then all the Steelers fans go, well, what if we went and got Josh Rosen? I don't want him either. He's not capable of doing it. I don't want a guy who overhyped himself up and then you bring him to Pittsburgh and he really hypes himself up. Oh, I could be a better quarterback than Ben Roethlisberger. No, bitch, you can't. You can't. You'll never be. And for Steeler fans, we got spoiled with having a quarterback like Roethlisberger. We really did that. It's so hard to really even think who could take his place. And you don't blame Ben for that. You don't blame the Steelers for that at all. That's just the situation it is. And you can say, well, we should have won more Super Bowls with him at quarterback. And listen, we are going to get one or two more with him. And I'm telling you, this year feels like it's going to be the year. And if we could keep everybody that everybody says we're going to lose, we could probably run the table and do it next year too. The team's built to win now. We have all the pieces we need. And that's really just that on that side of it. Another team that needs to, I wouldn't say rebuild, but they got to evaluate the quarterback position. And you could say that Derek Carr played good last week against Cleveland, but that's one game. How inconsistent he's been, consistent. It's just back and forth. It's been like that for how long now? And I get they signed Mariota, but Mariota's been a bust. So it's like, who do you get to replace Derek Carr there? Derek Carr, honestly, he's not going to get the Raiders a championship, and they're built to win now. So, but Derek Carr's not going to be the guy that takes you there. He's not going to be the guy who takes you to the Super Bowl. So the Raiders may the Raiders may make a move and get a higher draft pick and find a quarterback. They may take Justin Fields. Who knows? Um, again, Houston's got to rebuild somehow. I don't know how they're gonna do it, but they gotta they gotta get Deshaun Watson weapons because he's really his prime years are just being wasted there. And in the off season, if I'm Houston, I'm calling up Cleveland. Calling up Cleveland. Listen, you want to get rid of Beckham? We'll take him. There's one of the weapons that Deshaun Watson would love to throw to. He Beckham, I think honestly, there or Arizona is where Beckham flourishes the most because he can come in. He doesn't have to feel the pressure of being the number one guy. In Cleveland, he wasn't the number one guy. He wasn't really even the number two guy because you had Chubb, and then you had Njoku and Jarvis Landry. That Beckham was like a fourth or a fifth option that Baker just never utilized correctly. And Deshaun Watson's a quarterback who could utilize a guy like Beckham on his team. So that's who. If I'm Beckham, I'm the Texans. You make that deal. Even if Beckham gets released by Cleveland, I'm Houston. I call his agent. Hey, what's it going to take to get him here? I'm sure Houston's got money coming off the books anyway. You know, what does it hurt? I would call and see what I would even call now. And if I'm Houston, I call up his agent and just a hypothetical. Hey, listen, what do you think it's going to take? If Cleveland releases your client, what's it going to take? What's it going to take? Like a 3-year, $25 million deal? What's it going to take? What kind of incentives are you looking for? We could pay this, but we could make it heavily incentive based. Whatever the scenarios are, you gotta talk out with his agent and see what happens. What's it gonna hurt? You're not gonna know till you call. So that's what I do in that regard. Um, There's other things I wanted to tackle tonight, but honestly, I'm just so fried from everything and I know I bounced around in all different topics of football, from this, that, and the third to whatever. I'm just shot, but I figured, hey, I got to put another video out. I'm trying to do this daily. Um, I try to keep everybody up with what's going on, but like I said, I'm just really fried tonight. Really didn't get great sleep last night, so with that being said, I'm gonna go hit the showers and rest and relax, read up on some rumors, and I'll try to put a video out in the morning. If not, I'll do one after the gym tomorrow. Until then, stay safe. Peace.